The black wedding invitation was still lying on Elena Parker's kitchen table when someone struck her apartment door hard enough to shake the walls. Sophia stopped breathing. The 10-year-old girl sat curled against Elena's bedroom pillows, wearing an oversized gray sweater and clutching a small silver recording device against her chest. Her dark hair was tangled from a night without sleep. Her eyes were fixed on the narrow hallway as another blow rattled the door. Elena moved in front of the bedroom. She had not slept either. She was still wearing the simple blue dress she had put on before sunrise. When she planned to take Sophia somewhere safe and call a lawyer outside the influence of the Moretti family. Her soft brown hair rested over one shoulder. Her curvy body filled the doorway as she placed herself between the child and whoever had come for them. A calm voice sounded from the other side. Elena. Dante Moretti did not shout. He never needed to. His voice carried the controlled danger of a man who commanded Manhattan without raising his volume. Elena had heard powerful men apologize after hearing that tone. She had watched armed soldiers lower their eyes when Dante spoke with that particular stillness. Sophia grabbed Elena's wrist. Do not let him send me back. Elena looked down at the child she had spent 2 years quietly protecting inside an empire built on fear. I will not let anyone take you somewhere you are not safe. The door opened before she reached it. The lock broke beneath the force of a man in a black suit. 4 Moretti guards entered first, scanning the modest apartment with weapons hidden beneath their jackets. Then Dante stepped inside. He filled the doorway with cold authority. He wore a black overcoat over a charcoal suit. His dark hair was pushed back from a face that appeared carved from restraint. A thin scar crossed one side of his jaw, and his eyes held the dangerous emptiness Elena had seen only before violence. He looked at her. For 2 years, Elena had managed his meetings, remembered his medication, identified threats in crowded rooms, and corrected the mistakes of men who were too frightened to admit them. He had never looked at her as if she were a stranger. Until now. Where is she? He asked. Elena did not move aside. Dante's gaze passed over the packed bag near the couch, the documents on the table, and the second untouched cup of tea. His expression hardened. You vanished 3 days before my wedding. My niece disappeared hours later. Do you understand what that looks like? Yes. Then move. No. The guards behind him became absolutely still. No employee had ever refused Dante Moretti in front of his men. Elena was no longer his employee. That knowledge gave her enough courage to remain in the hallway. You searched my apartment without permission, she said. You broke my door. You brought armed men into a home where a frightened child is hiding. You do not get to demand that I make this easier for you. Something changed behind his eyes. It was not softness. Dante did not become soft. It was the first crack in his certainty. He looked at the faint red mark around Elena's wrist, where security had grabbed her during her removal from his office. Then he noticed the bruise near her elbow. Who did that? The question was quiet. Elena knew that tone too. This is not about me. Who touched you? Your fiancé ordered security to remove me. Your security followed her instructions. Dante stared at her. Elena could almost see him reconstructing the final day of her employment. Every unanswered message, every perfectly prepared file, every meeting rescheduled weeks in advance, every medication dose placed in labeled containers. She had not abandoned him carelessly. She had left as if she knew she would never return. From the bedroom, a floorboard creaked. Dante's head turned. Sophia appeared behind Elena. The child looked painfully small beneath the morning light. Dante's face changed in a way only Elena noticed. The ruthless calm remained. But something raw moved beneath it. Sophia. His niece flinched. Dante stopped. He had faced assassins without hesitation. He had ordered men into burning buildings. He had walked through gunfire to retrieve his wounded brother years earlier. Yet one frightened movement from Sophia made him afraid to take another step. Why did you run? He asked. Sophia lowered her head. Because Bianca said you would not want me after the wedding. Dante looked at Elena. Elena stepped aside only enough to allow him to see the recording device in Sophia's hands. The child lifted it. I heard her talking to her father. They are sending me away. They said the school would keep me quiet until the papers were finished. What papers? Dante asked. Sophia pressed the device against her chest. The papers that make everything mine become hers. Silence settled over the apartment. Dante's guards looked at one another. Elena watched Dante's face lose every trace of uncertainty. He reached into his coat and removed his telephone. Bianca answered almost immediately. Darling, where are you? We have the cathedral rehearsal in 1 hour. Dante never looked away from Elena. There will be no rehearsal. A pause followed. What are you talking about? The wedding is canceled. Elena felt Sophia's fingers tighten around hers. Dante continued in the same calm voice. Your family's alliance with mine is terminated. Your father will receive formal notice before noon. Every account connected to Sophia's trust will be frozen within the hour. Bianca's voice rose sharply through the telephone. You cannot do this because of an assistant. Dante's gaze dropped to Elena's bruised wrist. I am not doing this because of my assistant. He looked at Sophia. I am doing it because you threatened my child. Sophia's lips parted. Dante ended the call. He stood inside Elena's modest apartment, surrounded by broken wood and armed guards, while the wedding that had taken 6 months to arrange collapsed around him. Then he looked at Elena. Pack your things. Both of you are coming home. Elena almost laughed, but there was no humor inside her. No. A muscle moved in Dante's jaw. My niece has been threatened. That is why she is not returning to your estate. My estate is the safest property in Manhattan. It has steel gates, armored windows, underground exits, and men who would die before allowing anyone to reach her. Your fiancé fired me inside that estate. Your guards dragged me through the lobby. Sophia listened while members of your family discussed sending her away. Nobody asked why she stopped eating dinner. Nobody noticed that she had started sleeping with the light on. Dante's expression darkened. Elena stepped closer. Your house is physically secure. It is not emotionally safe. No one spoke to Dante Moretti that way. Elena had spent 2 years watching people give him softened truths, incomplete reports, and carefully shaped answers. They feared his anger more than they feared the consequences of lying. She had once done the same. Not anymore. Sophia is coming with me, Dante said. Sophia's hand disappeared into Elena's. No. The refusal came from the child. Dante looked at her. Sophia swallowed. I want to stay with Elena. The sentence struck him harder than any accusation. Elena saw it in the slight movement of his shoulders. Dante had believed that protecting Sophia's inheritance and surrounding her with security made him a good guardian. He had never considered whether she felt safe enough to speak to him. Dante turned to his men. Wait downstairs. None of them moved at first. Dante's eyes narrowed. Now, the apartment emptied within seconds. He removed his coat and placed it over the damaged chair beside the door. Without the guards, the tailored clothing, and the wall of authority surrounding him, he looked almost human. Almost. He walked toward the kitchen table and saw the wedding invitation. His name was printed beside Bianca Bellini's in silver letters. Elena had never told him how much it hurt to organize the ceremony. She had scheduled meetings with florists, coordinated security routes, and reviewed guest lists containing politicians, judges, and men whose loyalty had been purchased through fear. Every day, she had sat across from the man she loved while helping him marry someone else. She had considered her feelings a private weakness. Bianca had discovered them anyway. Dante picked up the invitation. Why did you not call me? Elena folded her arms. Would you have believed me? Yes. You were at a private meeting with Bianca's father. Your telephone was turned off. Your head of security said Bianca would become the highest-ranking woman in the estate after the wedding. He said her orders carried your authority. Dante's eyes became cold. Who said that, Marco? Elena watched him commit the name to memory. She continued before he could retreat into punishment and control. I left you a clue. The calendar entry. His gaze rose. Elena had created an appointment in Dante's private calendar before security removed her. It appeared to be a reminder for Sophia's school project. Listen before deciding. Dante had understood the message only after finding Sophia's empty bedroom. He placed the invitation down. You knew she would come to you. I knew she called me whenever she was frightened. And you did not tell me. Elena's anger sharpened. She asked me not to. I am her guardian. You are also the reason she believed asking for help would cause trouble. Dante moved closer. He stopped less than a step away from her. Elena had stood beside him in crowded elevators, armored vehicles, and narrow corridors. She had felt his presence 1,000 times. This was different. He was no longer looking at her as his assistant. His gaze moved slowly over her face, lingering on the shadows beneath her eyes. You should have told me, he said. You should have noticed. Neither of them moved. The air between them became too intimate and too dangerous. Dante lifted one hand as if he intended to touch the bruise near her elbow. He stopped before his fingers reached her skin. Elena noticed the restraint. She hated that it affected her. She hated that some foolish part of her still wanted his hand to close the remaining distance. Dante lowered it. Play the recording. Sophia sat between them at the kitchen table. The device shook slightly in her hands as she pressed the button. Bianca's voice filled the apartment. The child cannot remain after the wedding. Dante is emotionally attached because of his brother. But that attachment can be managed. Once Sophia enters the school, the guardianship review can proceed without interference. A man answered. The trust requires proof that she is incapable of managing the inheritance. Then give them proof. Anxiety, instability, a pattern of running away. By the time Dante understands, the council will already have signed. The recording ended beneath the sound of a closing door. Dante remained motionless. Elena had learned to measure his anger by stillness. This was the most still she had ever seen him. Who was the man, he asked. Sophia shook her head. I could not see him. Dante replayed the recording. The male voice was distorted by distance, but there was something familiar in its rhythm. Dante recognized it. He did not reveal the name. Elena noticed. You know who it is? I have a suspicion. Then tell us. No. Her eyes hardened. There it is. What? The part where you decide that protection means keeping everyone ignorant. Dante leaned back. There are things you do not need to know. Someone tried to take Sophia's inheritance. They fired me. They convinced your guards to follow Bianca instead of you. That means the threat is already inside your organization. I need to know everything that affects her safety. Dante looked at Sophia. The child was watching both of them with silent fear. He seemed to understand that another command would only prove Elena right. The voice may belong to Carlo Vescari, he said. Elena knew the name. Carlo had served the Moretti family for 20 years. He had advised Dante's father, managed the family council, and helped structure the trust created for Sophia after her parents died. He was also the man who had encouraged the Bellini marriage. Why would Carlo help Bianca? Elena asked. Dante's gaze returned to the wedding invitation. Because he believes stability matters more than loyalty. That is not an answer. Dante's mouth tightened. When my brother died, Sophia inherited his voting shares in every legitimate Moretti company until she becomes an adult. Those shares are controlled by a trust. I manage her personal interests, but the family council can remove me if they decide I am placing the organization at risk. Bianca's family offered peace between two rival territories, and Carlo believed marrying her would protect your position. Yes, Elena understood the deeper danger. If Sofia were declared unstable and sent away, the council could transfer her voting control to another guardian, someone chosen by Carlo or Bianca's father. Dante nodded. Sofia looked at him. Did you know they wanted my money? No. Did you know Bianca hated me? Dante did not answer quickly enough. Sofia pushed away from the table and ran into the bedroom. The door closed. Dante stared after her. Elena stood. You knew. I knew Bianca was impatient with children. You knew Sofia was afraid of her. I thought she would adjust. Elena felt her last excuse for him disappear. Children should not have to adjust to cruelty because adults find an alliance convenient. Dante's eyes flashed. You believe I wanted this marriage. I believe you chose it. There is a difference. Not to Sofia. He rose slowly. The kitchen suddenly felt too small for his anger. You think I enjoyed placing that woman beside me. You think I wanted her touching my family, my home, or my name. You gave her the authority to remove me. I did not. You failed to stop her from believing she had it. Dante turned away. For the first time since entering the apartment, he looked tired. The emotion made him more dangerous, not less. Power had taught him how to defeat enemies. It had not taught him what to do when the people he protected no longer trusted him. Elena softened only slightly. Sofia needs time. She does not have time. Then make time. The Bellinis will move before sunset. Carlo will destroy records. Members of the council will choose sides. This apartment is already compromised. Elena looked toward the broken door. Because you brought half of Manhattan to it. Because Bianca knew where you lived before I arrived. Elena went still. How Dante walked to the window and looked down. A florist van was parked across the street. Two black vehicles belonging to his men waited beside the curb. Near the corner, a man wearing a delivery uniform stood without holding a package. Dante pulled Elena away from the window. The glass shattered. A bullet struck the kitchen cabinet. Dante covered Elena with his body as another shot entered the wall. Sofia screamed from the bedroom. Dante pushed Elena down behind the kitchen counter and drew a weapon from beneath his jacket. Stay here. He moved through the apartment with terrifying speed. His guards rushed upstairs as gunfire erupted below. Elena crawled toward the bedroom. Sofia was crouched beside the bed, both hands over her ears. Elena pulled the child against her. The apartment shook with running footsteps. Then everything became silent. Dante returned less than a minute later. A thin line of blood marked the side of his face where flying glass had cut him. He lowered his weapon when he saw Sofia. We are leaving. This time, Elena did not argue. Black vehicles surrounded the building. Dante carried Sofia beneath his coat as guards formed a moving wall around them. Elena stayed close beside him. One hand pressed against the child's back. Neighbors watched from windows. Sirens sounded in the distance. The florist van had disappeared. Dante placed Sofia inside an armored vehicle, then turned to Elena. Blood moved slowly down his cheek. You are hurt, she said. It is nothing. She took a clean handkerchief from her bag and reached toward him. Dante caught her wrist. The movement was instinctive. His grip loosened immediately when he saw her expression. Elena could feel his pulse beneath his fingers. Fast. Human. He released her. She pressed the handkerchief against the cut. Dante did not move. The armed men surrounding them looked away as Elena cleaned blood from the face of the most feared man in the city. His eyes remained on hers. You still think you can send us back to your estate, she asked. No. The admission surprised her. Where are we going? Somewhere Bianca does not know exists. The safe house stood above a closed bookstore in Brooklyn. It was not a mansion. There were no marble staircases. Armed statues. or cold hallways filled with portraits of dead Moretti men. The apartment contained 3 bedrooms, a small kitchen, and windows overlooking a quiet street. Sophia entered cautiously. Dante dismissed most of the guards and kept only 2 men outside. Elena noticed that he checked every lock himself. "This belongs to you," she asked. "It belonged to my mother." The answer carried something private. Dante opened a closet and removed clean blankets. Sophia looked around the apartment. "Did she live here? Before she married my father?" Dante walked to a framed photograph beside the fireplace. A young woman stood outside the bookstore, smiling beneath a striped awning. She had Dante's dark eyes, but none of his coldness. He picked up the frame. "My mother kept this place because it reminded her that she had existed before becoming a Moretti." Elena studied him. "Why did you never sell it?" "Because it was the only place where she was happy." His voice ended the conversation. That night, Sophia refused to sleep unless Elena remained beside her. Dante stood outside the bedroom while Elena helped the child settle beneath the blankets. He watched Elena smooth Sophia's hair and whisper until the girl's breathing slowed. Something unfamiliar moved through him. He had seen Elena organize hostage negotiations without trembling. He had watched her correct armed captains and dismiss wealthy politicians from his office when they arrived late. He had never seen this version of her. Soft, patient, and fiercely protective. He remembered every morning she had placed his medication beside his coffee. Every evening she had stayed late to reorganize his schedule after a threat changed his plans. Every time she had quietly guided Sophia away from tense family conversations. He had mistaken devotion for professionalism. Now he realized how much of his life had been held together by a woman he had never asked to stay. Elena closed the bedroom door. Dante was waiting in the hallway. "You need stitches," she said. "I do not. You are bleeding again." She led him into the kitchen and opened the medical kit beneath the sink. Dante sat at the table. Elena stood between his knees while cleaning the cut near his temple. The position made her painfully aware of his size. His hands rested on either side of the chair. His shirt collar was open. A dark tattoo disappeared beneath the fabric near his throat. He watched her face. "You should have told me Bianca fired you. You keep returning to that because it is easier than admitting why she believed she could." Dante's gaze sharpened. "Why do you think she did it?" "Because she knew Sophia loved me. Because she knew I understood your life better than she did. Because she saw me as a servant who had forgotten my position." His eyes lowered briefly to her mouth. "Did you?" Elena's hand stopped. "Forget my position, yes." She stepped back. "You are getting married in 3 days. And you are asking me that I am no longer getting married. You canceled a wedding this morning. That does not erase the 6 months when I sat beside you and organized it." Dante stood. Elena had to lift her face to meet his eyes. "You think I did not notice what it cost you?" Her chest tightened. "You noticed I noticed every time you became silent after Bianca left my office. I noticed when you stopped wearing the green dress because she said the color made you look desperate for attention. I noticed when you removed yourself from dinners she attended." Elena stared at him. "You saw all of that and said nothing." "What should I have said?" "Anything. I was promised to another woman." "Exactly." Dante moved closer, then stopped. His hand lifted toward her cheek. Again. He did not touch her. The unfinished gesture hurt more than contact would have. Elena whispered, "You cannot keep reaching for me when you are lonely and stopping when responsibility becomes inconvenient." His hand lowered. "I have never reached for anyone. That does not make this fair." She left him alone in the kitchen. The next morning, Dante sat at the small table with Sophia's mathematics workbook open before him. He looked more uncomfortable than he had during armed negotiations. Sophia stared at him. "You did it wrong." Dante examined the page. "The answer is correct. The teacher wants the steps." "The steps are unnecessary if the answer is correct." Elena entered carrying groceries. Sophia pointed at Dante. He does not understand fractions. Dante looked offended. I understand fractions. You threaten the denominator, Sophia said. Elena covered a smile. Dante looked at her, and the tension in his face eased. It was the first ordinary moment they had shared. It frightened Elena more than gunfire. Powerful men were easiest to resist when they acted like monsters. Dante was becoming dangerous in another way. He was allowing her to see the lonely man beneath the authority. Over the next several days, the safe house became a world outside the Moretti Empire. Dante left before sunrise to meet loyal captains and returned before dinner. Each evening, he arrived without the long convoy that usually announced him. One vehicle stopped behind the bookstore. 2 guards remained outside. He began knocking before entering. Elena noticed. He helped Sophia study, although he still considered written steps an insult to efficiency. He burned the first meal he attempted and silently ordered food before either Elena or Sophia could comment. He asked Sophia before contacting her school. He asked Elena before moving additional security into the building. Every request cost him something. Dante Moretti had spent his life issuing commands. Asking permission required a form of courage no one had demanded from him before. Elena did not reward him too quickly. She challenged every plan involving Sophia. She refused to allow armed men inside the child's room. She required Dante to explain danger without frightening her. He disagreed often. He listened anyway. One evening, Elena found him sitting alone in the closed bookstore below the apartment. Moonlight moved across shelves covered in dust. Dante held the photograph of his mother. Elena remained near the stairs. Sophia is asleep. He nodded. Have you identified the shooter? The man died before we could question him. Was he a Bellini soldier? No. Elena approached. Then who sent him? Dante placed the photograph down. His name was Owen Price. He worked for a private security company used by 3 members of the Moretti Council, including Carlo, yes. The betrayal seemed to darken the room. Why would Carlo risk killing Sophia? Dante looked toward the covered windows. Carlo helped my father build the organization. He believes the family survives only through control. My brother wanted to move our legitimate companies away from the old criminal alliances. Carlo considered that weakness. Sophia's inheritance gives her the power to complete what her father started and remove Carlo's influence. Yes. Elena sat across from him. Why did you agree to marry Bianca? Dante remained silent for a long time. Her father had evidence against my brother. What kind of evidence? A recording that made it appear he ordered the murder of a federal witness. If released, the government could seize the companies held inside Sophia's trust. Bianca's father offered to destroy it after the wedding. Elena understood. You thought you were protecting Sophia's inheritance. I was. No. You were protecting the money. His eyes turned cold. The money is her future. Her future means nothing if she spends it believing everyone she loves will leave her. Dante stood. You speak as if choices are simple. I speak as someone who watched a frightened child hide beneath my desk while your fiancé shouted at a housekeeper. Why did you never tell me that because Sophia begged me not to? She believed you would be angry with her. Dante looked away. Elena continued. You did not create her fear by being cruel to her. You created it by making the entire house afraid of disappointing you. The words struck their target. Dante walked toward the covered window. My father believed fear was the purest form of loyalty. Your father was wrong. He built an empire and raised a son who does not know how to ask his niece whether she is happy. Dante turned. You enjoy challenging me. No. I am simply the only person left who does not need anything from you. That is not true. Elena's pulse changed. What do I need? He moved toward her. The darkness made the space between them feel dangerous. You need me to become the man you believed I could be. She stopped breathing. Dante stood close enough that she could feel his warmth. And you hate me because I failed. I do not hate you. His eyes held hers. That is the problem. The confession escaped before she could stop it. Dante's restraint broke for 1 second. His hand touched her waist. The contact was firm and careful, as though he expected her to disappear. Elena's body responded before her mind could protect her. She leaned closer. His forehead almost touched hers. Then a noise sounded above them. Sophia cried out in her sleep. Elena pulled away. She ran upstairs. Dante remained between the shelves. His hands still curved around the memory of her body. The following afternoon, Bianca Bellini appeared on every major news channel in Manhattan. She stood outside the cathedral, wearing a cream coat and a wounded expression. She told reporters that Elena had manipulated Sophia, stolen confidential documents, and destroyed a historic peace agreement because of an unhealthy obsession with Dante. Photographs of Elena leaving the Moretti office appeared on screen. Security footage had been edited to show her struggling with guards. The public story spread within hours. Assistant kidnaps Mafia Harris. Jealous employee destroys society wedding. Dangerous woman targets grieving child. Dante turned off the television. Elena stood near the window, pale with anger. She is preparing to accuse me of kidnapping Sophia. Dante reached for his telephone. What are you doing, ending it? How Bianca has accounts, businesses, and secrets. You cannot threaten every person who believes her. I can threaten enough of them. Elena stepped in front of him. That is exactly what she expects. Dante's eyes narrowed. She wants you angry. She wants you to act like a criminal defending his mistress. Every violent response will make her story stronger. I will not allow her to destroy you. Then do not behave like the man she says you are. Dante looked at the screen. What do you suggest? Elena had rarely heard him ask that question. We show the truth. Sophia cannot appear publicly. He said, not yet. The recording is incomplete. Then we find the rest. Dante studied here. You want to return to my office. Carlo believes I took files when Bianca fired me. He will search my accounts and my apartment. But he may not know I stored backup records inside the executive archive. The estate is compromised. The office tower is less dangerous. Carlo will expect you to send soldiers. He will not expect you to send me. Dante's answer came immediately. No. Elena folded her arms. You asked what I suggested. I did not agree to sacrifice you. I am not asking permission to protect myself. You are under my protection. Her expression changed. That sentence is the reason I left. Danny's anger stopped. Elena stepped closer. Protection without choice is another form of control. He stared at her. Then he placed a small communication device in her palm. You will wear this. 2 guards will remain outside the building. They will not enter unless you ask. Elena closed her fingers around it. Thank you. Do not thank me yet. Why? Because I am going with you. They entered the Moretti office tower through the underground garage after midnight. Dante wore a dark sweater instead of a suit. Elena carried her old employee badge. The building seemed haunted without its usual staff. They moved through silent corridors where Elena had spent 2 years managing Dante's life. Her desk remained outside his office. Someone had placed her belongings inside a cardboard box. A broken coffee mug rested on top. Dante saw it. Bianca did that, Elena said. He looked at the empty desk. Why did you keep working for me? The question surprised her. Because Sophia needed someone. Only Sophia. Elena walked toward the archive room. This is not the time. You always say that. You were always marrying someone else. He followed her into the archive. Elena unlocked a hidden storage drawer beneath the scheduling cabinets. Inside were encrypted drives, printed trust records, and copies of council meeting notes. Dante examined the files. You created this archive without my knowledge. I created it because 3 months ago, someone altered Sophia's medical records. His head lifted. What? A report from her therapist originally described normal grief and anxiety. The version sent to the trust board described emotional instability and unpredictable behavior. Why did you not tell me? I tried. Carlo intercepted the meeting request and said the board had corrected a clerical error. Dante opened another file. The signatures were familiar. Carlo, Bianca's father, 2 Moretti council members. They had been building a legal case against Sophia for months. Footsteps sounded in the corridor. Dante switched off the light and pulled Elena behind a row of cabinets. The space was narrow, her back pressed against his chest. His arm closed around her waist, keeping her still as 2 men entered the archive. One of them spoke. Carlo wants every backup destroyed before morning. The second man opened a cabinet. What about the Parker woman? Bellini has a warrant prepared. Once the girl disappears again, Parker takes the blame. Elena felt Dante's body become rigid behind her. His mouth moved near her ear. Stay here. She caught his arm. No violence unless necessary. One of the men heard the movement. Who is there? Dante stepped from the shadows. Both men froze. Their fear was immediate. Mr. Moretti. Dante's voice was calm. You were discussing the disappearance of my niece. The first man reached beneath his jacket. Dante moved before the weapon cleared the fabric. He struck the man's wrist against the cabinet and drove him to the floor. The second man rushed toward the exit. Elena locked the door. He turned. Dante stood between him and the fallen weapon. Who gave the order? Dante asked. The man shook his head. Dante picked up the weapon. Elena saw the ruthless man beneath the guardian. He did not shout. He did not threaten. He simply aimed. Carlo, the man said. Carlo said the child would be taken during the school foundation event next week. Dante's eyes narrowed. Sophia is not attending. He said she would. He said someone close to her would convince her. The man looked at Elena. Or they would make it look like she did. Dante lowered the weapon. For the first time, the entire shape of the plan became visible. Bianca did not merely want Sophia sent away. She wanted Elena blamed for taking her. The next morning, Dante gathered the Moretti council inside the estate ballroom. Elena watched through a hidden camera from the safe house. Carlos sat near the end of a long table. Bianca's father sat beside him. Both men appeared calm. Dante entered alone. No guards. No advisors. He placed the altered medical records on the table. Someone inside this room falsified information concerning Sophia Moretti. Carlo adjusted his glasses. Perhaps we should discuss this privately. We are private. The Bellini family leader leaned forward. Your emotional reaction to recent events has already damaged both families. The wedding can still proceed if the Parker woman is surrendered to the authorities. Dante looked at him. Elena Parker is not yours to surrender. She kidnapped the child. Sophia went to the only person she trusted. Carlo's eyes shifted. Dante noticed. He allowed the silence to deepen before continuing. The foundation event will proceed next Friday. Elena stared at the screen. They had agreed Sophia would not attend. Dante continued. Sophia will appear publicly. Elena Parker will accompany her. Every accusation will be addressed before the press. Carlo concealed his reaction well. Not well enough. After the meeting, Dante returned to the safe house. Elena was waiting in the bookstore. You used us as bait. His expression remained unreadable. I gave them the opportunity they believe they need. Without asking me. If I asked, your reaction would not have been convincing. Her hurt became anger. You stood in front of those men and announced that I would place Sophia in danger. I will control every entrance. That is not the point. Dante removed his coat. Then tell me the point. You made a decision about my life, because you believed your plan mattered more than my consent. His jaw tightened. This is the only way to expose Carlo and Bianca together. Then you should have trusted me enough to tell me. I trust you. No? You trust me to behave according to your strategy. Dante stepped closer. I will not allow anything to happen to you. You cannot promise that. But I can. That is your sickness. Dante. You believe enough power can turn fear into certainty. His expression changed. Elena's voice became quieter. Sophia ran away because nobody gave her a choice. I left because Bianca treated me like an object she could remove. Now you have made the same mistake for a different reason. I am trying to keep you alive. I am trying to remain a person. The words silenced him. Elena walked upstairs. Dante did not follow. The days before the foundation event passed beneath growing tension. Dante slept in the bookstore instead of the apartment. He continued protecting them, but no longer entered without permission. Elena saw him through the upstairs window each morning. He sat alone at a small table, reviewing security plans while sunlight moved across his shoulders. He was learning restraint. She wished learning did not hurt both of them. Sophia noticed the distance. Are you angry with Uncle Dante? She asked. Yes. Are you leaving? Elena sat beside her. I do not know. Sophia lowered her eyes. Everyone leaves when they are angry. Elena took her hand. Sometimes people need distance so they can return honestly. Will you return? I will never disappear without telling you. Dante heard the promise from the hallway. He did not enter. On the morning of the foundation event, he placed 2 boxes outside Elena's bedroom door. One contained a deep green dress in her size. The other contained a simple black case holding no jewelry, no diamonds, and no expensive gift. Inside was a new apartment key. A note rested beneath it. This key belongs to the safe house. The property is now legally controlled by a trust created for Sophia. You are listed as an independent guardian of access. I cannot enter without your permission. Elena read the note twice. Dante had not attempted to purchase her forgiveness. He had given away control. The school foundation event filled a glass reception hall overlooking the East River. Reporters gathered near the entrance. Wealthy families moved beneath white banners. Security officers stood beside every door. Elena arrived holding Sophia's hand. The green dress followed her curves elegantly. Her hair fell in soft waves over her shoulders. She looked neither hidden nor apologetic. Every camera turned toward her. Whispers moved through the room. The accused assistant, the jealous woman, the supposed kidnapper. Dante waited at the center of the hall. He wore a black suit without a tie. His eyes found Elena immediately. For several seconds, the crowded room disappeared. He looked at her as if he had never seen anything more dangerous or beautiful. Sophia ran toward him. Dante knelt before her. Do you still want to do this? He asked. Sophia nodded. Are you sure? She looked back at Elena. Yes. Dante did not stand until the child answered. Elena noticed. So did Sophia. The public presentation began. Dante approached the stage with Sophia beside him. Elena remained near the front row. Bianca entered 10 minutes later. Gasps moved through the hall. She wore white. Her father walked beside her, accompanied by Carlo and 2 legal representatives. Bianca smiled for the cameras. Dante. This spectacle has gone far enough. Sophia needs medical help. Elena Parker has isolated her from her family and manipulated her fear. Sophia stepped closer to Dante. Bianca continued. We have evidence that Elena planned to remove Sophia from the country. 2 officers entered the hall. One held a warrant. Elena felt every eye turn toward her. Dante looked at the document. Then he looked at Elena. His face became cold. Elena Parker, he said. You will go with them. Her heart stopped, even though she knew a trap existed. She had not known he would make her part of it this way. Sophia grabbed Dante's hand. No. Dante did not look at the child. Take Miss Parker to the private office upstairs. The officers approached Elena. She searched Dante's face for reassurance. There was none. The betrayal felt real because part of it was real. He had chosen not to trust her with the final plan. Again. Elena allowed the officers to escort her through the crowd. Bianca's smile deepened. Dante watched Elena disappear through the upstairs door. Only then did he turn to Carlo. You arranged the warrant quickly. Carlo folded his hands. The evidence was overwhelming. What evidence? Bank transfers, travel documents, messages between Elena and an unknown contact. Dante looked toward the reporters. You found all of that before Sophia disappeared. Carlo's expression changed. Dante continued. The travel documents were created 6 days ago. The bank account was opened by a company controlled by Bellini Holdings. The messages originated from a telephone recovered from the man who fired into Elena's apartment. Bianca's father stepped forward. Be careful. Dante smiled without warmth. I have been careful for too long. The lights went out. Screams filled the hall. A fire alarm sounded. Security moved toward the exits. Dante reached for Sophia. She was gone. Elena heard the alarm from the upstairs office. The two officers beside her exchanged a glance. One removed his badge. Elena understood too late. They were not police officers. The first man grabbed her arms. The second opened a service door as a woman in a school employee uniform dragged Sophia into the corridor. Sophia screamed. Elena drove her heel into the first man's knee and tore free. She reached Sophia as the second man raised a weapon. A shot struck the ceiling. Everyone froze. Dante stood at the end of the corridor. His expression contained no mercy. Release them. The false officer pressed the weapon against Elena's side. Move, and she dies. Dante lowered his own weapon. The man smiled. Dante's eyes moved to Elena. Trust me. The words were barely audible. Elena remembered the communication device hidden inside her sleeve. She pressed the emergency button. The corridor doors locked automatically. Moretti guards appeared behind Dante. The captors had nowhere to go. The woman holding Sophia reached for a side exit. Sophia bit her hand and ran toward Elena. Gunfire exploded. Dante crossed the corridor as the false officer pulled Elena backward. He struck the man before another shot could be fired. They crashed against the wall. Elena covered Sophia with her body. Dante fought with a violence unlike anything Elena had witnessed. Every movement carried the terror of almost losing them. The false officer reached for a knife. Dante fired once. The man fell. Silence returned beneath the pulsing alarm. Dante turned toward Elena. Blood marked his shirt near the shoulder. She stared at it. You are hurt. He crossed the corridor and pulled both Elena and Sophia against him. His arms shook. Dante Moretti, who never trembled, held them as though the world had almost ended. I thought I lost you. Elena could not tell which of them he meant. Perhaps he meant both. The ballroom doors reopened. Carlo attempted to leave through the crowd. Moretti guards stopped him. Bianca stood near the stage, her face pale. Her father shouted that the attack proved Elena was dangerous. Then Sophia stepped from Dante's arms. The child walked toward the stage carrying the silver recording device. She took the microphone. Her hands shook, but her voice did not. Elena did not kidnap me. The hall became silent. I ran because Bianca said she would send me away. I heard her talking to Carlo. Carlo's face lost all color. Sophia pressed the button. This time, the recording did not stop where it had before. Dante had restored the damaged audio with help from a specialist. Carlo's voice filled the ballroom. Once the girl is removed, Dante will lose control of the trust. Bianca becomes his wife. The Bellinis gain guardianship influence. And we restore the old structure. Bianca answered, and Elena Carlo's voice remained cold. She becomes the kidnapper. Dante will never forgive himself for trusting her. The recording continued. Bianca laughed. He does not trust her. He only wants her. There is a difference. Every camera in the hall captured Dante's face. He walked toward Bianca. Her father stepped between them. Dante stopped close enough that the older man's confidence disappeared. The alliance is over. Dante said, "You need our territory." "No, you need the council." "Not anymore." Dante turned toward the Moretti representatives. Sophia's voting shares have been transferred into an independent, protected trust. Carlo has no authority. Neither do I. Shock moved through the room. Carlo stared at him. "You surrendered control." Dante looked at Sophia. "It was never mine." He faced Bianca. "You believed my love for my family was a weakness you could manage. You believed Elena was a servant you could erase." His gaze became deadly. "You were wrong about both." Bianca's composure broke. "You canceled our wedding for her." Dante looked across the hall at Elena. She stood with one hand pressed against his wounded shoulder, blood staining her fingers. "No," he said. "I canceled it because marrying you would have destroyed the last human part of me." Bianca's father reached inside his coat. Dante's guards raised their weapons. Elena saw the movement first. She pushed Sophia behind a column. The gunshot struck the glass wall. Dante fired. Bianca's father collapsed before he could shoot again. Panic erupted. Guests ran toward the exits. Carlo attempted to escape through the stage curtains, but Sophia stepped into his path. He stopped. The child looked up at the man who had tried to erase her future. "My father trusted you." Carlo's face twisted with something close to regret. "Your father was weak." Dante appeared behind Sophia. "No. Carlo, my brother understood something you never did." Carlo looked at him. "What? An empire that requires a child's destruction deserves to disappear." Dante's men took Carlo away. By sunset, the Bellini alliance had collapsed. Accounts were frozen. Council members were arrested or removed. Evidence connecting Carlo to the altered medical records. The apartment attack and the attempted abduction was delivered to federal investigators through attorneys representing Sophia's trust. Dante refused to attend the private hospital until Elena and Sophia were safe. His shoulder wound was not fatal, but the bullet had passed through muscle. Elena remained beside his bed while the doctor worked. Sophia slept in a chair near the window. Dante opened his eyes. "You should rest." Elena looked at him. "You were shot. It has happened before." "That is not comforting." His gaze moved across her face. "I am sorry. For being shot, for using you as bait, for not telling you the final plan, for allowing Bianca to remove you, for every time I noticed your pain and chose silence because acknowledging it would force me to confront what I wanted." Elena's eyes burned. "What did you want?" Dante lifted his uninjured hand. He stopped before touching her. Elena looked at the familiar, unfinished gesture. This time, she placed her cheek against his palm. Dante exhaled. "You," he said. "I wanted you in every room, at every table, beside me, every morning. I wanted your voice to be the last thing I heard before making a decision, because you were the only person who told me when I was wrong." "That sounds like an assistant." His thumb moved gently across her cheek. "No, an assistant can be replaced." Elena's heart tightened. Dante looked toward Sophia. "When you disappeared, my entire life continued exactly as scheduled. Every file was prepared. Every meeting remained organized." His eyes returned to hers. "And nothing worked." She leaned closer. "Wanting me does not mean you know how to love me." "I know." The admission carried no defense. Elena studied him. "What happens now? I dismantle the parts of the organization that place Sophia in danger. I transfer the legitimate companies to professional management. I remove myself from her trust decisions and Dante's face became vulnerable in a way she had never seen. There is no us unless you choose it. She swallowed. You are not going to order me back to work. No. You are not going to place guards outside my bedroom. Only if you request them. You will not buy my apartment building, Dante hesitated. Elena narrowed her eyes. I already considered it. Despite everything, she laughed. The sound woke Sophia. The child opened her eyes and saw Elena holding Dante's hand. Are you still angry with him? Sophia asked. Elena looked at Dante. A little. Sophia nodded. That is fair. 3 months later, the Moretti estate felt like a different house. Many guards remained, but weapons were no longer visible near Sophia's rooms. The formal dining hall was used only for council meetings. Sophia ate breakfast in the kitchen, where sunlight entered through wide windows. Elena did not return as Dante's assistant. She accepted a position as director of a foundation created from Sophia's trust. The organization provided legal advocates and emergency housing for children trapped inside powerful families. Dante funded it without placing his name on the building. He asked before visiting Elena's office. Most days, she allowed him inside. Their relationship developed without the violent speed Dante brought to everything else. He took her to quiet restaurants where nobody discussed alliances. He arrived at the bookstore safe house without guards and helped Sophia repair the old shelves. He learned to knock. He learned to explain. He learned that Elena's silence did not mean agreement. The first time they kissed, it happened in the bookstore beneath the photograph of his mother. There were no enemies outside, no weapons, no interrupted confession. Dante stood before Elena with one hand at her waist. May I? He asked. The question cost him more courage than any act of violence. Elena smiled. Yes. His kiss was controlled for only a moment. Then 2 years of restrained hunger broke between them. He held her as though strength and tenderness were not opposites. Elena gripped his shirt and felt the ruthless man disappear beneath something deeper. Devotion. When they separated, Dante rested his forehead against hers. I have wanted to do that since the green dress. Which green dress? The one Bianca insulted? Elena stared at him. That was 18 months ago. I remember. You said nothing. I was a coward. No one in Manhattan would believe that. You are the only person whose opinion matters. 6 months later, Dante brought Elena to the cathedral where he had once planned to marry Bianca. The building was empty. Afternoon sunlight moved through the stained glass windows and painted the stone floor in soft colors. Elena looked around. Why are we here? Dante stood near the altar. There were no guests, no family council, no reporters. Sophia waited beside him, holding a small velvet box. Elena stopped. Dante did not kneel immediately. He walked toward her and took both of her hands. I once stood inside this building and prepared to marry a woman because I believed sacrifice meant surrendering everything human inside me. Elena's eyes filled. Dante continued, You taught me that protection without respect is possession. Power without trust is fear. Love without choice is another prison. He lowered himself before her. Sophia opened the box. Inside was a simple ring containing a deep green stone. Dante looked up at Elena. I will not ask you to enter my world and disappear inside it. His voice became quieter. I am asking whether you will build another world with me. Elena glanced at Sophia. The child was already crying. Elena looked back at the man kneeling before her. The Mafia boss, who had once broken through her apartment door, had learned to wait outside until invited. The guardian, who had once confused control with protection, had surrendered power to give a child her future. The lonely man who had almost married for an empire was now asking for something no empire could force. A choice. Elena touched his face. Yes. Dante closed his eyes for 1 second. When he stood, Sophia threw her arms around both of them. They remained together beneath the cathedral light. No alliance was signed that afternoon. No territory changed hands. No powerful family gained control. A frightened child gained a home where her voice mattered. A woman who had once been removed through a service elevator stood at the center of a family built around her courage. A man feared across Manhattan discovered that devotion was not weakness. It was the first power he had ever willingly surrendered to. 1 year later, the old Brooklyn bookstore reopened. Sophia placed the first book on the highest shelf, while Elena arranged flowers near the front windows. Dante stood outside beneath the striped awning from his mother's photograph. He wore a black suit, but no guards surrounded him. Children from the foundation filled the shop. Laughter moved through the rooms that had once held only dust and memories. Elena stepped outside. Dante held out his hand. She took it. Across the street, one black vehicle waited discreetly near the corner. Danger would always remain somewhere beyond the life they created. Dante could not erase the man he had been. Elena had never asked him to. She only asked that he choose what kind of man he would become. Sophia appeared in the doorway. "Are you coming inside?" Dante looked at Elena. She smiled. "We are coming." He followed her through the open door. For the first time in his life, Dante Moretti entered a home without owning it, controlling it, or commanding anyone inside. He entered because Elena had chosen to leave the door open, and because she was waiting for him on the other side.